Hello, today we're reading Eeyore Loses a Tail and Pooh Finds One, Chapter 4. Picture of Eeyore. The old gray donkey Eeyore stood by himself in the thistly corner of the forest, his front feet well apart and his head on one side, and he thought about things. Sometimes he thought sadly to himself, why? And sometimes he thought, wherefore? And sometimes he thought, inasmuch as which? And sometimes he didn't quite know what he was thinking about. So when Winnie the Pooh came stumping along, Eeyore was very glad to be able to stop thinking for a little bit in order to say, how do you do, in a gloomy manner to him. And how are you, said Winnie the Pooh. And Eeyore shook his head from side to side. Not very how, he said. I don't seem to have felt at all how for a long time. Oh dear, said Pooh, I'm sorry about that. Let's have a look at you. And here's Winnie and Eeyore talking. So Eeyore stood there, gazing sadly at the ground, and Winnie the Pooh walked all around him once. Why, what's happened to your tail? He said in surprise. What has happened to it? Said Eeyore. It isn't there. Are you sure? Here's a picture of Eeyore trying to look to see if he can see his tail. I don't see a tail, do you? Well, either a tail is there or it isn't there. You can't make a mistake about it. And yours isn't there. Then what is? Nothing. Let's have a look, said Eeyore, and he turned slowly round to the place where his tail had been a little while ago. And then finding that he couldn't catch it up, he turned the other way until he came back to where he was at first. And then he put his head down and looked between his front legs. At last he said with a long, sad sigh, I believe you're right. Of course I'm right, said Pooh. That accounts for a good deal, said Eeyore gloomily. It explains everything. No wonder. That's Ruby barking. You must have left it somewhere, said Winnie the Pooh. Somebody must have taken it, said Eeyore. How like them, he added, after a long silence. Pooh felt that he ought to say something helpful about it, but didn't quite know what. So he decided to do something hopeful instead. Eeyore, he said solemnly, I, Winnie the Pooh, will find your tail for you. Here's Eeyore looking again, trying to find his tail. No matter what he does, he can't see it because it's not there. Thank you, Pooh, answered Eeyore. You're a real friend, said he. Not like some, he said. So Winnie the Pooh went off to find Eeyore's tail. It was a fine spring morning in the forest as he started out. Little soft clouds played happily in a blue sky, skipping from time to time in front of the sun, as if they had come to put it out, and then sliding away suddenly, so that right next might have its turn. Through them and between them the sun shone bravely, and the copse which had worn its furs all the year round seems old and dowdy, now besides the new green lace, which the beeches had put on so prettily, though Copse and Spiny marched. Bare down open slopes of gorse and heather, over rocky beds of streams, up steep banks of sandstone into the heather again, and so at last, tired and hungry, to the 100-acre wood, for it was in the 100-acre wood that Owl lived. And if anyone knows anything about anything, said Bear to himself, it is Owl, who knows something about something, he said. Well, my name's not Winnie the Pooh, he said, which it is, he added, so there you are. Owl lived at the Chestnuts, an old world residence of great charm, which was grander than anybody else's, or seemed so to Bear, because he had both a knocker and a bell pull. Underneath the knocker there was a notice that said, Please ring if a ringer is required. Underneath the bell pull there was a notice which said, Please choke if an answer is not required. That's it for now.